Yo, what is up, Bad Union fans, and welcome to the Power Rankings for Week 5. A little bit late because for once in my life I had a life and had big things going on. I am very sorry. But as always, we're here with you two analysts, myself, Schady, and
myself, Shroomraver. Yes, hello, Battle Union fans. Welcome to the Week 5 Power Rankings. As we mentioned, Schady has been actually doing real life things.
It's really gross.
Which is a rarity.
I did enjoy it. Never going back.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. But yeah, we're a little bit behind on the time, but we are here with you now with our power rankings following the Week 5 games. Some interesting things happened this week.
Yeah, the TBU got renamed, by the way. It's now the Bug Union. So that's cool.
I like it.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, some results that, looking at the paper sort of results we've seen so far, might not have been expected. But it's always nice to see these kind of things that sort of blow the whole competition wide open. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
It's very nice to see that. Unless you do power rankings, you're like, what the fuck do I do? Help.
Yeah. It makes our job a little bit more difficult, but it's always nice to have a bit of a challenge. So, without further ado, let's jump straight into our lists. And am I going first or are you?
You're going
we decided
first.
I was. Nice. Okay. So at number 12, I do have Richie and Liverpool FC, who still yet to find that first win of the season. But some nice sets on his side. Richie's not averse to bringing strange things. Do we have confirmation that was a Specs Suicune?
I don't know. I don't think I do.
Huh. I mean, it looked like it. It's not every day you see Hydro Pump run on Suicune. Did massive damage to an opposing Megazord X, I think it was. And once again, bringing the pain with Mienshao. This time, Sub-Sword Stance because pain.
Which is beautiful. I love it.
It is. It really is. He was facing off against Gassy, of course. And he looked to be in a bit of a bind early on. You know, Gassy was intent on putting a lot of pressure on him with early Toxic Spikes, forcing his Zapdos to try and get massive damage. He wasn't helped early on, getting crit burnt by Zard when he really did need Zapdos. He did manage to get Defogs off, and sort of capitalised on Gassy maybe getting a bit greedy, trying to set up early game with Zard, gets it T-waved. Throughout the game, really trying to prioritise Defog, which was, that was wise. T-Spikes kind of hurt his team. He didn't want hazards, especially with Zapdos at low health, and when it eventually went down, it went down having got a Defog off, so well played there. And he tried sort of making his doubles that we've seen him try and make in the past, and they look to be working out. Going into Victini as the Ferrothorn comes in. And what followed was an Ockerberry Ferrothorn with some decent defensive investment, heavy on the HP, with an Ockerberry to take a V-Crate, which it didn't take.
I mean,
because Life Orb V-Crate doesn't care about anything, really.
I mean, is that a surprise to anyone? I don't think it is.
No, not at all.
You sounded
but
slightly
it was
surprised.
nice to see. It was just like, Ferrothorn ate its Ockerberry. It didn't matter. It sort of, again, as it has a little bit for Richie this season, it fell apart towards the end of the game. He allowed his opponent's Donphan to go for a very telegraphed knockoff onto his Trevenant, which removes Citrus Berry. It means he can't do his Harvest shenanigans. Then, as ever, it seems, comes the big turning point in the game. You've got a matchup of Mienshao versus Cofagrigus. Gassy pulls a double back into Terrakion to take a knockoff, live it, get a justified boost. So now essentially he's back to plus 1.5 attack, but with the ability to switch up his moves. And from there, Richie unfortunately didn't have anything to take a plus 1 Terrakion, because no one has anything to take a plus 1 Terrakion. And Terrakion gets the late game sweep. So, once again, it seems Richie, he's making intelligent plays early on and towards the mid game, looking to really get himself some ground. But it's just this one moment in the game which throws everything into turmoil and unfortunately allows him to get swept late game by Terrakion.
Yeah, I think that end play was a 50-50, and he just, got the short end of the stick. Can't really blame him. I think it was a very, very ballsy and manly play on Gassy's part.
This is true.
We'll get into that later a little bit more. So yeah, my number 12, unfortunately, is still Baby I, coach of the San Luis Chadots. He got his first win. I'm very happy. I'm also very happy that he dropped Aggron for Crocodile of all things. getting rid of such a bad Pokemon for such an amazing monster that got sniped off me in the PPL is really good. If you didn't know, the PPL draft happened this week, and my fellow analyst cunt here decided to take Crocodile when I won on it, and I'm very sad.
I'm happy about the entire situation, to be honest.
I am very surprised. It's fine because this time I will crit him, and it's gonna be fine.
Not even a chance.
There is no crit chance for me. Anyway,
No.
let's get into the actual thing about Baby. He beat Sky because Yanmega is a thing, and it did work, and ow. I'm not sure why he had Fake Out over Ice Shard and Weavile. Especially because, I mean, it ended up kind of helping him against Volcarona. Not really. Especially when his opponent has Landorus, T, Thundurus, Shaman, and also Gengar. All of those could be Scarfed, or they could have a speed boosting move, like Lando, for example, could have Rock Polish, or Tailwind, Shaman, all those things. I feel like Aisha would have been better ultimately, at least in theory. In practice, it kind of worked out.
Yeah.
So, he also said Sky's team is slow, which kind of confused me, because Sky has the fastest team in history, I think. Because like his team is the definition of hyper offense, and Empoleon. But you know, in comparison to Weavile, I think every team is kind of slow.
Yeah.
The Hitmonlee spread, that happened. That was a thing. It had max attack, max special defense, and a Life Orb. I was very confused, and it didn't help him because Volcarona still did ow, basically.
Yeah.
If you bring Hitmonlee against a team that has everything outspeeds it, you either bring a Scarf variant or a Unburden variant. And this Max Spadef variant just didn't do anything. And, you know, if it would have lifted a hit from Volcarona, I would have applauded, but it didn't, unfortunately. The Amoonguss set. I like Subspore Amoonguss. It's a very, very annoying set and a very, very good set. I'm not sure I like it against Sky's team because he has a lot of things that just set up on that set. Let it be a sub SD Cobalion or Landorus, Drapion with Taunt, all those things. Or as we saw, Heracross with Safety Goggles, but you can't really blame Baby Eye for that. The only Amoonguss that does not get set up by that is like HP Flying, and even then, you know, that's a story. You know, Subspore Amoonguss, as I said, is cool. Mono Sludge Bomb, yeah, not too great. Also, let's get into the best thing possible. Turn 1, Yanmega, Mega Diancie, HP Steel, dead, beautiful, loved it.
That was outstanding.
I may or may not have had a boner, and we'll not talk about it more. But it made me very happy. I'm also not sure why you went for Icicle Crash on the Volcarona with Weavile. There's a threat in front of you. You click knockoff. You don't mess around with that thing. Risk a roll or something. You just click the button. If your Weavile gets burned, well, it's dead. But at least you got rid of the threat and you didn't get swept. Didn't end up happening. He didn't get completely swept. But you know, should have gone for knockoff in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then Mega happened later on. He got everything in range. He got rid of the Empoleon, which was the one thing that could really switch into Mega. He got lucky that Sky misclicked and for Defog over Stealth Rocks.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. He did the Mega thing, and it did ow, and it was beautiful. I was very iffy on the Yanmega set, on specs with HP Steel over like Giga Drain and HP Ground to hit Empoleon and other guy, Diancie, but it all worked out perfectly, so can't really complain, can I?
No, absolutely.
So yeah, very happy for Baby that he gets his first win. And if he continues to get wins, he's not going to stay in that 12th spot because I feel bad for still having him there. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I have Baby Eye 11.
Perfect.
Which is sort of a nice little segue. To pick up on some of the things that Shardy's already mentioned, you know, he knows that Volcarona is a potential issue. Both coaches sort of pointed that out early in their team builders. You know, Sky knew that Volcarona was a real potential win condition. Baby Eye knew that it was a potential issue. So he brings a Scarf Rotom Heat to outpace it and try and tank any stab. I mean, looking at it, potentially a more bulky spread, Spadef with T-Wave might have been nice, but I guess, you know, a sub setup set could have got round that.
Or HP Rock.
He kind of also had... Yeah, I was about to mention that. God damn it, Shardy.
There you go.
I was about to say, my next point was he has little to hit it too hard, especially if it's set up. You know, I was saying HP Rock could have been a nice option, but I guess HP Ice for Landorus, you know, he wanted to cover that base as well. Taunt Crook. Taunt Crook is a cool guy. We like Taunt Crook. the Hitmonlee set, once again, max attack, max special defense. Rock Slide for Volcarona, so I could kind of see what, like Schady mentions, if he'd have had to been able to use that special defense to tank a hit from an unset-up Volcarona and take it out with Rock Slide, nice. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work because by the time he gets Hitmonlee in, Volcarona's set up to +2, and, you know, he's not taking that hit.
Maybe AV could have helped. That would have been...
Maybe Assault Vest, agreed. And that Amoonguss. The Mono Sludge Bomb, it's walled by Sky's 2 steel types, but the one thing I did like is that Baby Eye knows the value of bringing something that has an attacking move. You know, we've seen people bring sets that are fully non-attacking, and they're taunt bait. So I respect the fact that he knows the value of bringing at least something that can hit. But Mono Poison at the same time is not necessarily the best option. Especially against those 2 steel types, the Drapion, and various things that can just take it. And by the way, Baby, I see you. I see you with your less than ideal. I see you, and I approve entirely.
I don't need more Shroom in my life. It's already terrible.
Everyone does.
No one
Everyone
does.
does. I'm a good influence on you.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, looking at the game, Shardy's mentioned much of what needed to be said. It looked a bit dodgy at times, but yeah, you know, he got rid of the Empoleon. He forced Sky into a position where he had to sack Volcarona. And yeah, Sly made one crucial misplay, maybe others at other times, but we'll come on to him later. But Baby Eye, to his credit, he's able to take full advantage of that, save his win condition very effectively. And yeah, he plays a fairly good game. He took a couple of risks in team building, but they ended up paying off for him. Gets his first win. He's finally there. We are very happy for him to get that first win. It's always a weight off the mind when it comes in. And yeah, hopefully he can continue this kind of form.
Yep. And with that, we move on to the next Sable Eye guy, which is Richie, coach of the Live Wurmple FC. He moved down 1 spot for me. He lost against Gassy, which, you know, who cares about losing to Gassy, because Gassy is a really fucking good player. Don't tell him that. I think he only watches the part where we talk about him, so it's fine. I'll try to insult him as much as possible when we get to him. I like sub SD Mienshao. With the thought of there's a Confagrigus. He's gonna switch into that, or he's gonna, you know, try to willow with me. I can set up a sub, then SD, then knockoff. That kind of thing is what I thought with his thought process there. I like it because behind the sub, Mienshao is very, very scary. What I also liked is that he pulled the double into Victini. He played that very well. He expected Ferrothorn, went into Victini, put so much pressure on Gassy. Yeah, that's what Victini does, put pressure on people. And overall, he played a pretty good game. I don't think he's to blame much for this loss. It's more so that Gassy played very well. Especially late game, when he pulled that switch into Terrakion on a Mienshao, on a +2 Mienshao. That was ballsy as fuck. But it worked out for him. He got rid of his choice band. He got the +1 attack. So basically still has a choice band, but can switch up his moves. Finished off the Mienshao, and then finished off the game from there. So yeah, Richie played a very good game. I think he built a very solid team as well. Weak to T-Spikes when he has a poison type. You know, I can't blame him for that. That's just Gassy being Gassy.
Yeah.
And bringing toxic spikes when there's a poison type on the opposing team. Fair enough. Yeah, that's that. I think Richie played a decent game, but didn't end up working out for him because fuck Gassy.
Yeah, it was all about that 50-50 at the end that really swung it against him. So yeah, with that, I guess we can move on to number 10 on our list, and I believe, are we in agreement on this? I think we are.
Probably are, yeah.
I have Sizz
an agreement.
at number 10. Sizz Awesome is at number 10. Once again, another one taking his first victory, and what a victory to get against the high-flying Eric, who takes his first loss of the season. Sizz brought some cool stuff, as he always does. Bulky Bat, we like Bulky Bat. He's a cool guy. Ockerberry Registeel. I'm always a fan of Ockerberry Registeel. Ockerberry Registeel is cool. We like it. Was he running counter?
I don't know.
I hope he was. Because that is the Lord set. Ockerberry counter Registeel. Will always get me. Not too much more to say sort of about his team. without much of a team build to go on. I think you might. Do you have any more?
I don't think I do. No.
Okay. Well, we'll just get sort of into the meat of the game. He power flinched Tangrowth, which I found entertaining. Registeel effectively being able to force out Tangrowth with power flinch. That was nice to see.
Play.
Well, true.
All you most skilled players use power flinch.
Oh, definitely, absolutely. It is very much for the skilled and Schady. He played Crobat quite well, I thought, against Eric's safe plays. There was a whole sort of series of Crobat versus Heatran, which looked to be a stalemate, and it actually looked like Sizz was going to lose the matchup eventually when the burn did come in from Heatran's Lava Plumes. But Sizz, for the most part, played Crobat fairly effectively against Eric's safer plays. And through doing that, he was allowed to keep it at fairly good health despite the burn, which he did eventually heal Bell off. And, he was able to get rid of Tangrowth, which was very nice. Tangrowth is something that likes to take physical hits when you've got the likes of Mega Gallade on your team, which I'm hopeful was not running Hidden Power Ice this time. To get rid of Tangrowth, that was really good. He sacked intelligently. He was playing an intelligent game, which, with the greatest of respect to Sizz, sometimes you don't always see. He sometimes doesn't necessarily he either puts not enough thought or too much thought into some of his plays. He either doesn't predict or he just over-predicts. But his sacking of Clefable, I thought, came at a good time. Clefable had done what it needed to. He's got the heal bell off on the mons that are actually going to pose a threat to his opponent. And he can let Clefable go down to the Nidoking. He sends in Mega Gallade. This Mega Gallade has the bulk to take a Nidoking Shadow Ball, because as everybody knows, on the first turn of Megaring, Mega Gallade does not outspeed Nidoking, and everybody knows that. That's common knowledge. It's common knowledge.
Except for you, of course. But I was really hoping it would die to a so I can make the joke again, but it lived. So
yeah, but Sizz had actually EV'd his Mega Gallade.
I think it just naturally lives, and you hit chip damage on you. You switched into a thing.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, he was able to pick up on some of Eric's more uncharacteristic mistakes. He brought a very powerful Slowking that Eric kind of didn't see coming in a sense. He thought it was choice, but it wasn't. And yeah, Sizz was able to maintain what he needed to take on a Scarfed Honchkrow, and eventually take what I think amounted to a 2-0, 3-0 victory?
I don't
One
remember.
of those?
We're good analysts.
I forget, but one of those. We really do our research. But yeah, I mean, a really nice result for Sizz to get his first win.
So I think you mentioned most of the things. But this is my number 10 as well, as kind of mentioned before. Turn 1, he was pretty ballsy, clicking EQ against the Heatran with Registeel, which looked to be pretty offensive. Then the series of plays he talked about with Crobat against Heatran, I have no idea why he did that. He didn't gain anything unless his goal was to stall out the Lava Plume BP, or he really wanted to get burned so he can show off Heal Bell. I'm not sure. He has a Slowking in the back. Why not just switch into that? I am unsure. And his Registeel was well trained, getting those flinches. That was good. So
yeah, very much so.
Yeah,
he's
just
trained
like
in the mountains.
My Registeel and your Registeel before, probably. I don't know. Yes, things might have happened before.
Yeah,
Slowking was cool. Slowking did things. I don't think he was bluffing the specs. It was just Eric being a Bidoof. But it worked out. So yeah, you mentioned everything else, and I am upset. So I'm not upset at all, because that means I have to do less talking.
Yeah, I mean, to take nothing away from
Yes.
Sizz, he's played a very good game. He's upped his game this week. He needed to, and he responded to that, and he did.
This time. I'm so happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes it would be easy to sort of focus on Eric messing up, which to an extent he did. He made more mistakes than he normally does. But it's credit to Sizz to be able to pick up on those and use it to his advantage, and play what amounted to a very solid game in the end. So yeah, well played, Sizz. Very well played indeed. So with that, we can move on to number 9 on our lists, and for myself, that is going to be Freedomion, our very own Fredo, who took a loss to Sly, who of course took over from Gabe and the LA Galuxray. Fredo brought some interesting stuff. Pseudo Sun to counter Sand, fine, not a problem with that. especially when you've got the likes of Solar Power Heliolisk, which I believe he brought, Chlorophyll Vileplume, Entei in general. Nothing. There are very few things that enjoy taking Entei's Sacred Fire, and there are even fewer things that enjoy taking Entei's Sacred Fire in the sun, because overkill is fun. Hyper Beam, Solar Power Heliolisk. We'll focus on this for a little bit. This is a very powerful thing. You've got a stab Hyper Beam coming off a Solar Power Heliolisk. It's powerful, but, the elephant in the room here is the item choice. Now, Fredo knows that he sort of messed up a little bit there. Thinking that the, was it the Power Herb?
It doesn't matter, because there is no herb that does that. What he wants.
Yeah, he thought that the Power Herb would allow for the Hyper Beam recharge turn not to happen. Doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So that was a bit of a misplan on his part. Fredo playing a risky early game while Sly was making safe plays. He brings in Vileplume on a flamethrower and then promptly goes for Sunny Day, just to help out Sly a little bit with that flamethrower, and loses Vileplume. But the sun is up, and that's really what he wanted to happen. What made me a little bit sad to put Fredo down on the list as far as I did was the fact that not everything that went against him was his fault. We can't ignore the fact that there were at least 3 turns of real hacks issues for him. In comes Granbull switching in to Entei, and Fredo misses a Sacred Fire. What that means is that because he can't 2-hit KO, he can't OHKO, he can 2-hit KO the Granbull, but the miss means that he has to take huge Earthquake damage on Entei, which he didn't want or need to take. We fast forward a couple of turns, he gets critted by Fire Fang from the Hippowdon onto his Fortress. Now that did matter, because Hippo is, I don't think it was, was it fully invested? It might have been.
It didn't matter, it did matter
but, yeah, because Fortress would have taken the hit because it was max defense, and it's a Fortress. And Fire Fang is not the strongest of attacks. But what that means is that he gets crit OHKO'd from the range he was at. That means he doesn't get rocks up. And then to cap it all off, he misses a Draco Meteor onto an incoming Meloetta. Now, obviously, it's an Assault Vest Meloetta. It's not dying from a Draco, but it's getting 2-hit KO'd at the very least, which means that Latios has to take massive damage from Shadow Ball and Sandstorm. I think Meloetta picks up the KO. So there was a lot of unfortunate hacks on Fredo's side. We can't ignore that. But in the end, he does take the loss. There was a good rearguard action from Gliscor, sort of trying to scramble some differential, which it managed to do. Not in short part to some interesting plays from his opponent, but we'll come on to those in a bit. But yeah, an unfortunate loss once again for Fredo. Yeah, he had good ideas, I think. But he was messed up a little bit by hacks, and hopefully that won't affect him too badly. I know he was a bit annoyed, and rightly so. But yeah, hopefully it won't affect him to the point where he can't come back and get himself back on track.
I have Fredo up a little bit much higher, actually. We'll get into that later. My number 9 is Trip, and his Delsteravias. Yeah, that's the one. I'm so good at this.
That's the one.
He took the W over... No, wait. He took the W over Quill.
He did.
He had a Shockwave Celebi. That was a thing I would have never expected in my life to see.
Yeah.
Not sure if I'm the biggest fan of Shockwave plus Shadow Ball as his coverage. But I don't know the calcs on how much Shadow Ball would do to his Skarmory. I imagine it would do a decent chunk after a couple boosts, but Shockwave is smart. I like it. Kind of, I think. I'm not sure if I like it, but it's cool. Let's just keep it at that. And I'll just go straight to the endgame because that's what really matters, I feel.
Yeah, I've got more notes on sort of the team in the mid-game.
Well, basically, first, before you go into the late game, Toxic on Medicham was smart because there's a fucking Cresselia and a Sableye.
Yes.
I'm not sure if bringing Medicham in the first place is the best idea, but it makes sense. And with Toxic, you can catch both of those hard counters on the switch in. And there aren't many hard corners to Mega Medicham in the entire game. And Quill has 2 of those, and he has Toxic for them, and that's very smart. The main play I want to focus on is Hidden Power? No. High Jump Kick with Mega Medicham when there was a Sableye around. Ballsy as fuck. Jesus, dude.
Yeah, very
it worked out because Quill, I think, he misclicked into Typhlosion. That just dropped 10 times over because it's a Mega Medicham. And from there, with basically smooth sailing for Trip, killing the Skarmory with the high jump kick, and then the other guy came in, and then from there was basically game over. Was Skarmory? Yeah, he's got 6 Skarmory. And Mega Man put in work despite having a team that has 2 counters to it, and that's very impressive on Trip's part. And I give him huge props for that. And I'm not sure if I like the Dragonite set, to be honest. Dragon Dance with Outrage and Fire Punch? I like Roost and Dragon Dance. Those 2 moves, that makes sense. But having Outrage when there's a Skarmory around, and Quill does have the way to play around that Outrage Fire Punch combination, because Cresselia will still take an Outrage, as we know. So he has to go for Outrage on Cresselia. He will take one, and then he goes into Skarmory, and from there it's just, Dragonite will take damage. Maybe it's a Rocky Helmet Skarmory, something like that could happen. Not sure if I'm the biggest fan of it. He could have something like Fire Blast. I think that would have helped a lot more. It would have been a lot safer for him. Not Fire. No, that wouldn't have actually have helped. Dragon Claw maybe. I don't know. I don't think Outrage plus Fire Punch is the best option there. But it didn't really work out. But it could have. He was very close to actually sweeping Quill with that Dragonite. But then Sableye did its Sableye thing, because Sableye is a bitch and it's annoying.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's basically all I have to Trip. As you said, you have a lot, so we'll keep that for you because you enjoy talking, and no one enjoys it when you talk, but you enjoy talking.
This is true, and wow, I see you. But it actually works out well because Trip is next on my list. Let's pretend you knew. The toxic mega. I'll try that one again.
The toxic
mega Medicham. That's a nice idea. We've seen actually quite a lot in the Battle Union last season. We saw this kind of thing with Toxic on the likes of Mega Medicham for Anima, I think it was. Also on Mega Pinsir, which was Kyle, I think, did that. It's a nice idea. To pick up on this Celebi, what you have is defensive Calm-Mind Recover with Shockwave and Shadow Ball. Now, the reasoning was he thought that Quill would expect Psychic and Giga Drain, and he had a perfect switch into that, which would of course be the Skarmory. Yes, you can hit Skarmory now, but Stab covers pretty much everything else fairly well, and he has other things for Skarm. He had a decent amount of fire coverage for the Skarmory, and to pick up on that further, he brought Hidden Power Fire Scizor at the expense of, for example, Bullet Punch. You have other things for Skarmory. Now, Shockwave on, for example, a dedicated choice set, don't have a problem with that, absolutely fine. You want the coverage, go right for it. And again, I just didn't agree with not having any stab at all on Celebi, and Hidden Power Fire Scizor. If you're going to pack Hidden Power on something, for coverage that is not expected, surprise factor, fantastic. But against something like Skarmory, it's not going to work, and we saw that. We saw this exact thing happen. Skarm eats a Hidden Power.
You said in his team build, you thought this is going to do like 30%.
It's a Sizzle.
But why do you have? What does it? I don't think I understand.
Yeah. I don't see what it was gaining him too much. Maybe in a 1v1 situation, perhaps. But I didn't necessarily agree with it. However, all the team building kind of things aside, we move into the game. First turn, Trip makes an early play. He switches Florges out on Sableye. Now, the reason he did this is because he's predicting Skarmory. Quill has Metal Burst and Roselli Berry for exactly this situation with the Florges lead-off, but very crucially, Trip misses what happens. I think, just through timing issues, he looked away at the moment Quill goes for Metal Burst, so incredibly fortuitously, he avoids that, but misses why, he misses what happens. And, Trip gets the switch he wants next time, but only because Quill thinks he's seen Metal Burst, and he hadn't. So that was a really sort of strange sort of series of plays. The Dragonite set, it doesn't quite work to his advantage. He goes for a Dragon Dance, Quill tricks it a Scarf, and eventually the Dragonite gets burnt. Now, he's burnt, he's locked in on Outrage, his opponent has numerous counters for that. I get that Dragonite is now useless because it's scarfed and burnt, so it can't set up later on to avoid the burn. But if Skarm is going to be stalling it out, I feel like he could have switched out Dragonite earlier, save it as fodder, go into an offensive threat when Skarm was clearly not doing any offensive damage at the time, and threaten it out from there. But, later on we see Tripp making some good middle ground plays. Early on, he doesn't risk the high jump kick onto Skarm, which would have been very tempting at the range of health it was at, because he knows Sableye is in the back for Quill. He then makes a very manly play. Toxic the Skarm. Do it. Toxic the Skarmory as it switches into Sableye. So that was very good scouting from Tripp. Knows that Quill's going to make that switch and goes for the only move he can. So, fair play to him. He played okay against Skarm, getting as much chip damage as possible. And then, of course, we have that huge moment where Quill switches Typhlosion into Mega Medicham. I think you said that was a misclick, which I can only imagine it was. And it loses Quill the game. Because, Sableye is his switch there. Tripp's made a very ballsy play indeed going for Mega Medicham. But in comes Typhlosion. Consequently, of course, down goes Typhlosion. And that's the game, And the end game, Tripp calm minding on Sableye. Now, he mentioned at the time he could see how this would be seen as like a bit of a dick move. What reason does he have? He has a very good reason. He's very aware, having seen no leftovers, of the potential Roselli Berry, which Sableye was packing. So, he wants to reserve as much differential as possible. Very intelligent play from him, and, it helps him get a bit more of a differential and a very useful win.
That was your number 8, so we'll go on to my number 8, which in fact is Enzo of the Whiskers. He took the fairly big loss against Josh, which, it happens. Josh is currently doing Josh things. Well, he's not doing Josh things, he's winning. But Manaphy was a huge threat to Enzo. He realized that he has the Mismagius with the Focus Sash, Taunt, and Destiny Bond. Now, that's a cool thing in theory. I like it, except for the fact that Scald Bonds are a thing. 9 out of 10 times Manaphy is going to have Scald unless there's a reason to pack Surf when you don't want to burn something. So, if it was at +3 or if it went for Tail as Mismagius came in, Scald would have happened, burn, and then rip Mismagius. Nothing would have happened except for a Taunt. As he realized himself, Scarf Mamoswine was not a good idea when there's things like Rodent Wash around. He's not going to touch it anytime soon. My notes are weird. And then when he still had the option of using this Mages for Manaphy, he left it in on Miltank to get body slammed and then paralyzed. Also not the best of ideas. When you have something that's dedicated to taking something else on, you don't want to leave that in. What was impressive though was that Mega Audino took that fucking +3 Scald and killed Manaphy. I like the idea that he had Hyper Voice on his Mega Audino to deal with a potential sub Manaphy, which it ended up being. That was very good. He could also have like Thunderbolt or something to do more damage, but Hyper Voice was very good. And then Jirachi would have been out, but he realized he knew that. And Philly, what am I trying to say? In the end, he just lost to Josh playing a little bit better and having the team matchup, and Strapta doing our things at the end, basically.
Absolutely, yeah.
We're so
and in
good
fact,
at this.
Enzo is next on my list as well.
This is a game?
So
Apparently
this
this is a game now.
It's working out
Do
perfectly.
you think this is a motherfucking game?
Is this a game to you?
That's a reference I don't get myself, which
There
is
it is.
funny.
Yeah, I have Enzo. I have Enzo at 7. Again, I'm a fan of Support Mismagius. It's easy to throw it into just that offensive role, sub nasty plot, scarfed, whatever you want. But it's
You say
it's,
that, but
it's
it
a
never
fairly
worked for
useful,
you.
specially defensive beast, base 105.
That was not a Spit F
Spit F.
set, was it?
It worked once.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was. It worked once, but never again. Yeah, Enzo. It was. There were a few unfortunate things that happened to him. Not realizing that Josh had not bought Scarf Jirachi. He was very much expecting, I think, and thought that Josh's Jirachi was in fact scarfed. But it wasn't. And what that means is that he loses by Shark to a Drain Punch. I guess it might have been that he was looking to set up there and not go for like a Psycho Punch or anything. But yeah, it was just an unfortunate series of events there. One second.
Nice.
So, I have Enzo next on my list as well, which is absolutely grand. I like how we can just segue into these things. It's fantastic. We're very good at this. But yeah, Enzo is next on my list. There might have been a cut there, by the way, I'm not sure. Background noise and things and stuff happened. But anyway, we're back on track. Enzo, support Mismagius. I like it. I like Spit F Mismagius. It's a thing.
kind of.
With Willow and Taunt, it's easy to sort of shoehorn it into an offensive role with those offensive stats it has, but it can do a nice support job as well. Hey, it worked once. Just once. Never again, but just once.
Unless it's Shroomraver.
Enzo, I think, had a little bit of an issue with his buy shop overall. I thought he played it kind of riskily against Rotom Wash, which is a mon that has Will-O-Wisp, we all know it. He managed to get huge damage onto Miltank, but I thought he played it riskily against Rotom Wash. It was fortunate for him that Josh didn't initially try and burn it. And yeah, the whole situation with Bisharp versus Josh's Jirachi, which Enzo very early sort of thought it looked to be scarfed. But in the end, Josh reveals non-scarf Jirachi and KOs Bisharp with a well-timed Drain Punch. So that was Bisharp down and Enzo on the back foot. Then, as has been mentioned, the whole situation with sub Manaphy. I was worried that he goes for U-turn with Talonflame versus Manaphy behind a sub, with rocks on his side, once his spinner has gone down and his Talonflame is at below half, because there's no way that U-turn is breaking Manaphy's sub, and his Talonflame is dead on switching. So Josh sets up a Tail Glow behind a sub, and I'm thinking, this is it, endgame sweep. But he pulls the Hyper Voice out of nowhere and lives a +3 score because Mega Ordino is a beast. But yeah, I mean, that was really intelligent planning on Enzo's part.
I guess, yeah.
Unfortunately, it does just come a little bit too late because, as has been mentioned, Scarf Staraptor is able to clean up the game from the point where it was at. So Enzo takes another loss. But, you know, it's Enzo. These things happen. And Enzo, he's shown some nice planning. He made a few mistakes, mainly surrounding that buy shop. But, you know, he's going to come back into this. I'm certain of it. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, we're going to move on to my number 7, which is Sly.
Nice.
Now code of the LA Galaxy. This says Gabe on my thing here, which is stupid. He moved up by 2 spots after beating Frito. Offensive Powron is an interesting Pokemon. Max Attack, Adam, and Expert Belt. It's cool, but without Slack Off, it's not going to survive for long. Which is kind of what Hippowdon does, but I still like the idea behind it because Free doesn't have the best of switch-ins to that. Because Hippowdon has really good coverage for some reason. Then we have HPI's X-Drill with Life Orb, which is cool. We haven't seen it, but we heard of it from Kyle last season. The battle unfortunately never managed to be uploaded. And with the Acid Spray from Electros combined, it can actually do a lot of damage to Gliscor. He had the remaining investment in HP from that he didn't need in speed. Why did he not just put it in special attack? I don't understand. That was kind of weird. Maybe change the role in his favor slightly with that, but it all worked out in the end. He also probably would have lost if he didn't have the HPIs. Gliscor probably could have won him the game at the end because he kind of played weirdly near in the end, which was very confusing what he was doing. If he didn't have that, he probably Gliscor would have stalled him out and won the game. But it all worked out because HPI is actually the Lord set. And that was pretty nice. He also got very lucky, of course, as you mentioned before while talking about Frito. Sly got very lucky, but he got unlucky against a certain little shit in a different
None
league.
of that.
But
and
it's
in
all
fact,
fine.
once again, Slyro's next on my list. This is fantastic. Right, so Slyro next up for me as well.
Jesus, we're good at
Offensive Expert but Hippowdon, as has been mentioned. It's cool. It's a nice gimmick, Again, it's one of those ones that's so easy to shoehorn into one role, that of course being the defensive hippo. But it's got nice attack, it's over base 100. So why not? My slight issue with his team, let's pretend I meant that. Was with the Gliscor. He's got Hidden Power Ice and Extra Drill. That's a cool touch. It's a nice gimmick. Because obviously Extra Drill normally can't really touch Gliscor. But that plus Ice Fang Hippowdon were his only moves to really hit it. Now they're unreliable. Hidden Power Ice Extra Drill is never going to be the most powerful attack. Ice Fang is not a powerful attack. And it can miss. So it's unreliable in terms of taking down Gliscor. But we'll get onto that in a little bit, of course. There's not too much that hasn't already been mentioned about the main meat of the game when I talked about Frito, so I'll go sort of towards the end game. What it came down to was a 4v1 situation. Gliscor is Fredo's last man standing, and Sly, it looked like he was trying to choke the game away. He nearly lost it. He gets an acid spray onto Gliscor with Electros. That does allow Gliscor to get damage on it and get health back. Now this I think was due to some kind of miscalc on Sly's part, but getting acid spray onto Gliscor when you do have a special attack in the back and it's the last one left, fine with that, not a problem. Then he goes into Mew. Now Sly's Mew set. He brings Stealth Rock, Super Fang, Reflect, and Roost. Gliscor has Poison Heal. Mew cannot KO Gliscor. It actually can't take it out. And we have this whole situation where he's setting up Reflect, fine I guess, and he's going for these Super Fangs, and it's not getting him anywhere because he can't KO it, and eventually, finally, he goes into Excadrill. I believe actually he'd forgotten that Gliscor was at -2. He'd forgotten about the Acid Spray, so I guess he was thinking that HP Ice wouldn't KO, and that Excadrill would go down to an Earthquake, which is I guess why he was looking to get Reflect up as well. And going to Excadrill at the opportune moment, of course, it didn't actually matter because Gliscor's at -2, HP Ice does KO, and Sly is able to get the win. So a nice win for Slyro coming into the league, and that really should set him up quite well and give him the confidence to go on and try and get more. We can only hope.
Hopefully he loses confidence before the PBL season starts. So there I think we're going to move on to my number 6, which is Quill. There isn't much to say. He had Trickstar Cresselia, which was beautiful. You don't see that very often. I think I've used it before on the ladder to fuck around with people. But physically defensive with Trickscarf is very, very smart. Looking at Trip's team, things like Quagsire, etc., they don't want to get Trickscarfed. That was nice. Life Orb, Nasty Plot, Thunderous is fucking terrifying because what lives? I'm pretty sure Focus Blast, Life Orb Focus Blast 2 kills Quagsire, so he didn't need Grass Knot. But I think if split off Quagsire could have been a slight issue for that, as much as I hate saying that. But still, Thunderous was ow. SD Inferno was also ow. I think I kind of agree with him not having Mach Punch. End up not mattering too much. Because otherwise Arcanine can take it on a little bit better. If he doesn't still, Dragonite can take it on really well. And without Close Combat, he just doesn't have the power. So that's smart. I can get behind that. He also changed Skarmory. He now has Brave Bird and Whirlwind on it. That's good. It's not a setup for the Skarmory anymore. But, he ended up losing this game because Misclicks and Mega Manicham is ow and has Toxic. And also damage rolls from Dragonite. Dragonite plus Mega Manicham just did work, and it was a lot of ow for him. So, yeah, I want more Trickstar Cresselia in my life. But next time make it offensive, please. Thank you.
You're not wrong.
We don't need more defensive Cresselia. It's boring.
And do you know what? Once again, this is working out absolutely beautifully.
So, yeah.
Because sitting at number 5 on my list is Quill. Once again, we can segue in beautifully. A lot of the sets Shardy's already spoken about. Nasty Plot, Thunder Asterion, Swords Dance, Life Orb, Infinite, because pain. And he can afford to bring, he doesn't have to bring Agility Thunderous because, he outspeeds everything Trip has except for the Raichu. So, fair enough. I like Roselia Berry, Metal Burst, Sableye. That's nice. Eevee to take the hits. So, fair enough to him there. Trickscarf, Cresselia, nice to be able to kind of try and trick it onto Quagsire, but it can't really hit it back, so he's going to have to hope that it forces it out. The one set that I really, really wanted to talk about, that Typhlosion set. Flame Charge Power Herb Solar Beam.
Yes.
Oh, it's beautiful. It surpasses beauty. It's a work of art. Unfortunately, it's a work of art. It's a work of art that can't hit Arcanine, but you've got to make some sacrifices for cool points. Or Florges, but yeah, I say you've got to make some sacrifices for cool points. So we'll give it to him. Yeah, most of the game has been mentioned. Quill was able to neutralise Dragonite very well. Combination of sort of tricking it, burning it, and then scarming it was kind of the way to do it. And he neutralises a very, very big potential threat on his opponent's side. I was worried when he started letting Trip set up with Celebi. But, he had contingency to deal with it, so that was fine. it was just, again, it was that big turning point, the huge moment, the misclick into Typhlosion on the Mega Medicham. I guess he wanted to go into Sableye. He had no reason not to. It's just when these misclicks happen, they can be really, really game-changing. And unfortunately for Quill, this was that. You know, with Typhlosion in the back, he still has a decent chance to try and take the game. There's a scenario that plays out where he could have taken it with Typhlosion, bluff the Scarf, force Mega Medicham out, go for the Flame Charge, and then try and do some work from there. But unfortunately, this is the things that happen when one misclicks. There's nothing you can really do about it other than try and dust yourself off and go on from there. So hopefully Quill can do that, because he's showing some nice signs of team building here with some really, really cool sets.
Yes, indeed. And with that, we go and move on to my number 5, which, despite his loss, is the Skyrender. He moved up by +1, or that sounds weird to say. He moves up by 1 spot, mainly because I moved Quill down. And as I said, the top is kind of difficult. Like, the top 3 are pretty clear who those 3 are, and in between, it's just everyone is pretty even. The middle is very close, which is good, but makes our job harder, as we said before. My number 5, as it is Sky. The main thing I didn't like about his team was that Empoleon was his Mega Altaria check, as he said. Now, the Empoleon set was Stealth Rocks, Defog, Scald, and Toxic. That is not a set that beats Mega Altaria anytime soon, because fairly often Altaria can carry Roost to roost off damage, and Heal Bell to get rid of the Toxic, so Toxic doesn't even matter. And if it's a Dragonlance variant, or any variant with Earthquake to be fair, it will beat it despite the Sugar Berry, so I don't know why that was his idea. Dragonlance Altaria could have definitely done some work to his team. Didn't end up happening, so who really cares, you know? He also, right away, while teaming, he decided that he's not going to bring any of his big ice weaknesses in Lando, Thunderous, Shaman. Not sure how much I agree with that, you know, just because there's a Weavile. Yeah, I guess it works.
Yeah.
If that's how you want to play, that's how you want to play. It's different from player to player, I think. You know, some people are more scared, some are less scared. He was worried about Weavile, which is fair, because Weavile is very, very, very scary. And then Yanmega just kind of happened in the end game. Turn 1, I don't think I can blame him too much for that. Who expects Hidden Power Steel on Yanmega out of all things? He just got bopped, and from then he was sad. He tried to set up Volcarona. He was very close to actually just sweeping straight up. Then Fake out Weavile, kind of saved Baby, surprisingly enough. And yeah, then the misclack kind of made him lose the game. If he would have gone for Rockstag, he probably would have won. And by probably I mean definitely. But you know, as happened, Yanmega cleaned up the game, and that was very unfortunate for Sky. Losing to Baby, but I'm pretty sure Sky is going to come back with another win fairly soon, because Sky has been on pretty good form before this week.
Absolutely. So, yeah. And hey, guess what, gang? Guess who is at number 4 on my list? You already know. You already know. It's not Sky.
Guess C?
It's Sky. Sky's at number 4 on my list. Yeah, the team was cool. Bulky Swords Dance Heracross with safety goggles for Amoonguss. Very nice idea. Worked to perfection. So always nice when a plan comes together. The Scarfed Cobalion was EV'd well to outpace +1 Mega Altaria and Yanmega, as well as any potential Delphox shenanigans. Sub Quiver Dance Volcarona is spooky. It's very, very spooky. He knew that it was a very, very big win condition. I think he was a little bit blasé maybe about what Baby I had to stop it, because it's not entirely true that he doesn't have anything to stop it. You know, there's a potential Mega Altaria sitting there, as well as a Rotom Heat, both of whom take both stab moves from Volcarona. But, you know, still, sub QD Volcarona, get that thing to +2, it's causing damage. He had sub Gengar, which was nice, and what I liked is that we picked up a little bit before on his sort of talking about Pursuit, but still bringing weaknesses. He had enough defense investment to survive a Pursuit, which was cool, if he stays in, I think. So that was good thinking on his part. He's sort of taking note of maybe stuff he hasn't necessarily looked into too much in previous weeks, and he's looking to change that and use it to his advantage. So I like that from him. He's team building very intelligently. We can't blame him for the first turn. We can't. I can't hold it against him. Hidden Power Steel, Yan Mega? Yeah, okay.
No.
When Yan Mega pops Hidden Power Steel to Oko Mega Dynasty turn 1, you just go, yeah, okay, fair enough. There's not really much else you can say. Yeah, maybe he could have gone for the Protect, but I think he was well within his rights to not fear the Yan Mega. So, yeah, fair play to him.
Yeah.
And then he promptly starts to take apart Baby Eye's team with a +2 Quiver Dance Volcarona. He takes out Hitmonlee and Rotom Heat before Baby Eye can force him out. So he's got him on the back foot. And then he's safe to set up with Heracross because Baby Eye brings in Amoonguss on Heracross. If he'd have brought in Heracross on the Amoonguss, it might have been a bit of a different story. Because Baby Eye might have suspected. But the fact that he's forced his opponent to bring in the Amoonguss when he wants him to, that's very nice. And he's ready to sort of set up and do some work. Then we get to that one turn, the misclick going for Defog over Rocks. It actually seemed like a good play at the time because, now Volcarona can come back in. But, of course, crucially, so can Weavile, and Yan Mega stays at 100%, which proves to be game-changing. Cobalion cannot KO Yan Mega with Volt Switch and Iron Head. I think it was forgivable to think that Cobalion could. Yan Mega, not the bulkiest on the physical side. He did have Stone Edge, but, I can empathise with not wanting to risk the Stone Edge miss. He didn't want Yan Mega to do too much work. So I actually thought the timing of Volt Switch and Iron Head on Sky's part was very good. He knows he outspeeds first turn, he can get some Volt Switch damage, get on out of there, sack something, and then come back in, take a hit, and go for Iron Head. I thought the timing of his attacks was correct. And Sky has been quite hard on himself with how he played this game, but I thought that was the right combination. Unfortunately, Yan Mega lives with a smidgen of health, and Baby Eye is able to take the win with the Yan Mega. But, Sky makes maybe one or two crucial errors, and it costs him. But other than that, I thought he made good plays throughout the match, and yeah, I don't think this will set back too much. I think he'll be just hungry for more wins.
Yep. And we're going to move on to my number 4, and this is where the trend is going to stop. Because my number 4 is Frito. I don't have Frito number 4. I really don't.
I'm sure he'll be really happy to hear that.
But I know, that's why I said it. But I can't change anything because the rankings are pretty difficult right now, at least for me, to order them around. So I was like, I'm just gonna keep Frito on 4 and see what happens in the future weeks. If people like Sky, Quill, and Sly win again, Frito loses again, things are gonna change again. Frito is gonna drop finally off that number 4 spot. For now, he's gonna stay there. I don't know what I was just doing. Despite his loss to Sly, brain farts are a thing. They happen. Sun was a cool idea. I like that, kind of. I'm not sure why he thought switching Vileplume into Electros was a good idea, because at that point, Sly had no reason not to click Flamethrower. Maybe he could have gone for Volt Switch expecting Entei, but I think Flamethrower was the safest play. He made it, and then he went into Vileplume, set up the Sun, and then just ripped Vileplume. You did something. I'm glad he picked that thing up for this week. It did all the work possible. Hyper Beam. That was a thing. I'm not sure who told him that there was a herb that does that. It doesn't exist for all the viewers. He knows it by now. Dear viewers, there is no herb, unfortunately, that makes you not recharge. I hope they make that one day, because it should exist. I don't know why it doesn't. It doesn't right now. So he kind of went for Hyper Beam. I think it was Life Orb, Solar Power.
No, he had the
and
herb.
Melota just. Oh yeah, I'm
Well played, Charlie. Well played.
It was a Solar Power boosted Hyper Beam, and it did less than half to Melota. Shout out to Melota for being the fattest thing in history. After P2. And he just didn't have any luck. I don't know what he did to anyone. There was no luck involved for him.
There are many people in the community who are called Hacks Gods, and Frito has clearly angered at least one of them. In some way.
At least.
Maybe
probably
all of them.
Two. Yeah, probably. That would make the most sense. The Lucky and Bad Gods, the Hacks Gods, the other Hacks Gods, everyone. Frito, what are you doing? I know you're a cunt, but Jesus. You're not as bad as me, so I don't know why you get all the bad luck.
Give it time, you'll get some in Season 3.
Oh, I already had enough bad luck Season 2. Shut up. So yeah, the bad luck cost him.
Yeah.
Cost him. Plus him just having Hyper Beam on the Heliolisk for no reason. I think Frito has to have Hyper Beam on at least one Pokemon
I
every
think
week
so.
now, or Giga Impact. I think we have to
yes.
make that a rule. Giga Impact
Yes.
Fortress, easy. So yeah, Frito. I like this idea. I like a couple of the ideas he had, but then things happened because what is luck?
Very true. Very true. So yeah, with that, we are going to move on to the top 3, and yeah, we're going to buck the trend here a little bit, and not segue nicely, because we've got the same top 3, and for me, at 3 is going to be Super Gassy, the man himself, coach of the New York Shelmets, taking the win over Richie, trying to get himself back on track. Fizdef Megazord X with Dragon Dance sets up on Victini. Who knew? Not me.
Unless it's a special Life Orb variant with Psychic.
Well, it wasn't. Was it?
It wasn't.
Did it have Psychic?
Maybe.
I don't know if it had Psychic.
I don't know if it
might
had
have done.
Psychic.
Who can say in this day and age? The Pharaoh was mainly brought to try and counteract Richie's one of Richie's newest pickups in the form of Mega Gardevoir, which is spooky as hell.
A little bit.
Spadef, well, mainly Spadef, Ockerberry, Pharaoh, in case I guess of Hidden Power Fire. And Banded Terrakion, because what a switch-ins. He's decided to, not to bring Banded Azumarill, think, let's bring Banded Terrakion instead.
Because Gas's team isn't scary
No,
at all.
not at all, not in the slightest. I was a bit worried for him, looking at the team matchup, because the teams that they brought. Because if Terrakion goes down, a potential Suicune set was looking like a problem. But it seems that Richie bought an offensive Richie Suicune set, and Terrakion was still alive when it went down, so Terrakion was sort of looking to be given a bit more free reign. I've mentioned before, his early use of T-Spikes really put Richie a bit on the back foot. And Gassy, he was getting a bit greedy with that setup. He said that this Fizdef Megazord X, it sets up on Victini. He tries to set up on Zapdos, which has shown that it's not choiced. It's shown that it's a bulky set, and it has the T-Wave, which I guess he either wasn't expecting or was hoping that it didn't have. But it does, and he gets paralysed on the Zard, which is kind of a bit of an issue when you're setting up speed. Shout out to Ockerberry, Ferrothorn once again, not living a fire-type attack because it's a Life Orb V-Crate. We'll forgive it, it's a Victini. One does not simply live that hit when you're quad weak, even if you have the berry. But yeah, not too much really more to say that hasn't been said about this game. We've spoken about the big turning point, Gassy making the ballsy 50-50 play that works out for him, and is able to have his Terrakion given the justified boost, switch up moves, and, sweep City.
Yeah. My number 3 is in fact Eric Ashton Akai of the Bristol Bedoofs. Which is it? Yeah, that's the team.
Yeah.
Which is good because he bedoofed all over the fucking place. He didn't do calcs, he didn't realize that Slowking wasn't specs. It was just him being the not good Tangrowth set. The good one for this game, but the general set that you shouldn't run standard play, which is Fizdef Assault Vest. Because as we see, it doesn't take special hits well at all.
Yeah.
Even with the Assault Vest, because Tangrowth has -5 base special defense. Ice Beam did way too much. He was like, oh, this is specs. And then went to Heatran, and later on in the game, he just got bopped by a Scald. That was the thing. And just generally, Eric just wasn't Eric. Like, if you've been following Eric throughout the season, he has been playing so well, and this game just wasn't him. I think Friedel left a comment on this video saying there was like someone else using your team. That's pretty much what it was. It wasn't Eric at all. And he also, of course, got beaten by someone who played well, which is Sizz.
Yeah.
But still, it wasn't Eric. He has those off weeks. Everyone has them. Him especially, and he even has a name for it. He bedoofed all over the place.
Yeah.
That's the short analysis. I will leave you for the rambling part because you enjoy rambling.
Yes, very much so.
That's the way we split things. I say short things and Shroom rambles. That's why the videos are so long.
Absolutely.
And the occasional insults.
Yeah, but what's a power ranking episode without some insults?
Exactly.
Precisely. But once again, we can segue nicely because Eric is in fact number 2 on my list. So I'll wax lyrical a bit here. It was a well-built team, as we've come to expect. Sugarberry this time on the Heatran. He likes to mix it up between the 2 items that it that it holds on his team. Shooker or Chopple, this time Shooker for Garchomp. Enough defensive investment to take an Adamant Earthquake and hit back with Hidden Power Ice. Once again, he knows how to build his transets, let's be real.
Yep.
And he's supplementing that with Assault Vest Tangrowth. Nidoking has huge potential to sweep Sizz's team. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Nidoking has huge potential to sweep every team. Especially Sizz's. Now, I happen to know that Eric really wanted to run Agility past Excelgor. Not to set up the speed for itself, but of course to pass speed into Nidoking.
Yes, Shroom,
because
thanks for explaining Agility Pass.
Hey, shut up. People might not know. I'm explaining it for you because you're a scrub.
Hello, I ran Agility Pass Season 1.
Also, I need to sort of maintain it for myself because I don't know about Nidoking's speed tiers.
85.
Nice save. Well done, me. Thanks. You're welcome. Anyway, he wanted to pass speed into Nidoking because a +2 Nidoking is, pain. Ow. All of it. But he runs Specs Excelgor once again. It's served him well in the past, and, he wants to get that special damage. Once again, a very well-built Conkeldurr. Assault Vest with enough speeds to creep the base 60s. Decided not to run Mach Punch because without Iron Fist, which he wasn't running, it doesn't OHKO Greninja. So he just felt that with the Assault Vest he can tank a hit from Greninja and hit back with Drain. So, fair enough. I can't say much more about that. Scarfed Honchkrow, that's a cool thing. Never ideal to lock yourself in with a Scarf to Sucker Punch, but what can you do? Nice to have that instant priority. That music before the game, Eric, I see you using that music and I approve.
I was very confused for a sec, because wait, it's the music and it's not the annoying voice. What is happening?
Shut up. Yeah, he sees the bulky Crobat, predicts the taunt, just goes for Lava Plumes. We have this sort of Lava Plume versus Roost matchup. The eventual Lava Plume burn is eventual, because Lava Plume is not schooled. This is a classic example of an actual 30% chance to burn, as opposed to Scald's 30% chance to burn, which is in fact 212%, which has been worked out by our resident scientists here at the Analytical Center.
Which is definitely not me.
No,
Neither
not
is
at all.
you.
You don't know anything. But yeah, then Eric, it's like has been said, it was kind of like it wasn't him. He wasn't calking. And I'm loath to say he was a little bit complacent, because Eric is not a complacent guy. We know this. It just seems like he had an off week. And as Schady said, everyone has them, Everyone has those off games where it doesn't happen for you. And this was Eric's one. And again, not to take anything away from Sizz, he's played a very good game, he's really upped his game. But that was kind of compounded by Eric not playing to the best of his ability, I think, and the ability that we know he can play at. Because he miscalcs, he doesn't do some calcs, he gets a Toxic off onto the non-choice Slowking, but of course, Sizz in the back has Heal Bell on Clefable, which he used very effectively. And once Heatran was gone, and Conkeldurr was at such low health, he suddenly doesn't have an ideal way to deal with Registeel. Tran's gone, rocks are up, every time he brings in that Conkeldurr, he's taking damage and Sizz is switching out. He does get it right with Ice Punch versus Crobat. Finally, I think at the third time of asking on the Switch, he does get that off. But then, once again, he kind of messes up a little bit. He forgets that Clefable isn't around. So, Honchkrow, instead of locking on a Night Slash, which would have served him better, he locks in on Brave Birds when Sizz still has his Registeel around. And, even at +1 with Moxie, Brave Bird's not taking out Registeel. Never. Not a chance. So, yeah, Eric has his off week this week. And we'll allow him that, because everyone does it. He's been playing really well up until now. This is just a blip for him. And much like other people who have lost very few games, this I think will just fire him up a little bit. He's got a huge match next week, and he's going to want to do as well as possible.
Yep, most definitely. And we're going to move on to my number 2, which is Josh of the Slate Pot Vale, or Whale, as his opponent would say.
Slateport Whale.
He had Subteglo Manaphy, which is cool. Everyone likes that set. Depending on what it is against. It could have worked. It did some work actually this game. Got a sub against some mages, then gets taunted and then kills it. All's cool. And then Staraptor happened. I think it was a very straightforward game. I think I already talked about the game a decent amount, and so did you, because Enzo happened before. disrupted, cleaned up, and he had Rotom Wash from MS1. He had his bases covered. He had a fairly well-built team. Scrappy Miltank, that's cool. You don't see Scrappy Miltank as often as the other two abilities, I think. But it's fun to see when there's a mismatch, just run Scrappy and bodies and that thing. I like it. And generally, Josh played a safe game. He played a good game. And yeah, that's all I got.
Fair enough. Which is fine, because now we can move on to our number one slots. And for me, that is in fact going to be Josh, of Slate Port Vale, remaining unbeaten this season. Is he? He is, isn't he? Nice. Cool. Subtail Glow Manaphy with Shadow Ball. Fairly good coverage alongside his Stab Scald, so nice building there. Speed creeping on base 100 is what I really liked, that I don't think was shown in too much detail, was an offensive Trick Room Aromatisse.
Yeah, I think did it hit the field? I don't think it did.
Aromatisse is a cool guy. I don't think it certainly didn't do too much offensive work, if any at all. But it's a nice idea. I like the set. Aromatisse is put into this defensive role because it does it so very well. A cleric that can't be taunted, that's a beautiful thing to have. But it's no particular slouch. It's not the most sort of overbearing of offensive threats, but it can do a job, especially with Trick Room support and the decent coverage it gets. Other than that, we've got fairly standard stuff. I'm a big fan of Willow Light Screen Rotom forms. They can all do it. We all know it. It's a cool thing. As to the game, he was doing some interesting things that seemed to work out for him, that I wasn't entirely sure about. He's setting up rocks on a Starmie, who is a rapid spinner who can hit his spin blocker in the form of Chandelure for super effective damage. So I was a little bit concerned about what he was doing there, but it seems to do okay for him. Then we see the whole sort of matchup with Jirachi versus Bisharp. Josh, whether intentionally or not, bluffing the Scarf set, taking out a big threat in the form of Bisharp. I liked what he was doing initially when trying to set up Manaphy. Weirdly enough, I liked it because it didn't work, and I'll tell you why that's going to make more sense. One of the old mantras is never waste a sub. Josh doesn't care about that. As soon as Mega Rodino comes into a taunted Manaphy, he's behind a sub, he pulls a switch. Because he's not afraid to waste that sub, because it would have been a waste if he'd stayed behind it. He doesn't want to let Mega Ordino set up. He's behind a sub with a Manaphy. He's looking at that wouldn't be a good position in any other situation. But Josh sees the bigger picture. He's like, nope, this isn't good. Don't care. Switching out. Good play. I like it. The manly play of going for Earthquake on an immunity as it switched into Stormy. I approved of that greatly. He wasn't phased by Enzo revealing his devious Mega Ordino plan. He just made the plays he needed to win the game. Saving Scarf Rapture until the very end. Well played by him. He'd sped crept very effectively. And just a solid game once again. Josh unbeaten for a reason. He's shown he can do it with weird sets, and now he's shown that he can do it with some fairly standard ones as well. So
I'm going to move on to my number one, which is back again, once again, number one. Super Gassy, huh?
Nappy?
Super Nappy.
Nappy?
Wow. He got number one spot again. So he's going to jack off to that because I know him.
I don't know, man. He's not third. He likes third.
Fuck.
And he's third on mine, so he's going to like me more than he likes you.
Dick. I mean, what? Defensive Dragon Dance Zard X for Victini is pretty cool. I like that. Except for the fact that I think he should have at least invested something into Spadef. I don't know the calcs exactly. Maybe he probably did them. Maybe he did them. I don't know. Because a Special Victini is very much a very, very good option against Gas's team when he has Almola and Zard X. Or a mixed Victini, of course. So I feel like he could have probably had some Spadef investment to take that on a little bit better. But didn't happen, so it's cool. Then he had Bandit Terrakion, which is the most beautiful thing in history. If you know me, I adore Terrakion because what is the switch in? Plus speed, plus power, and Terrakion is God. That's cool. Then he tried to DD on these Zapdos. He DD'd a little bit too much, and then things happened and ripped Zardex, basically. That's the short story. He got greedy. He realized that afterwards that he shouldn't have gotten greedy. he probably won't do it again. He probably will. Let's be real. This is gassy. I also like that we get into game. He sees that Richie didn't bring a poison type. Like Roserade, I think Tentacle was on the bench. They didn't bring Tentacle. He leads with the T-Spikes on Cofagrigus and gets him off right away. If Zapdos doesn't have Defog, they're there to stay, and Richie's not going to have a fun time. As it turned out, he did have Defog, but still a very nice play to lead off the game. And then it just came all down to the late game, to the one play at the end, where he switched in a Terrakion and a +2 Mienshao. That 50-50, where it's either Richie goes for sub and wins as Gassy switches to Terrakion, or he goes for knockoff as he goes to Terrakion, and Terrakion wins from there. So yeah, that was very ballsy, but I think it was his best play at that point. Because I think it was his best play. Because otherwise he would have just lost. I think it was his best play overall. As I said, 50-50s, you can't really say what's the better play, what's the worst play, but I feel like that was the best play. And it worked out, so it was. And yeah, Terrakion did the thing, as expected, because Terrakion is God. Gassy, bring Terrakion more often, please. Thank you. That's all I have to say, but Gassy's back at number 1. He's either going to be happy or unhappy. I hope he's unhappy, because he smells like booty. Yeah. Wrecked.
There it is.
Absolutely
the final word on Gassy from Schady. But
I don't know. Probably
how is he going to recover from this? I don't know. Answers on a postcard or in the comment section below. How is Gassy going to respond to that sickest of burns, as I believe the kids are saying, from Schady?
Less nudes now.
Well, no. Who can really say?
I mean, nay.
But
I don't English. I'm German. Don't judge me.
Come on, Schady. Let's be grammatic about this. I judge you all the time. It's what I do. But yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap things up from us. So thank you all very much for joining us today. I do hope that you have enjoyed. Any final words to add, Schady, before we sign off?
Everyone
should. Wow, there it is. Schady is turning full heel, as if he hadn't before. But yeah, that's going to wrap things up from us. So yeah, thanks for joining us. Stay tuned for the. Actually, I suppose the battles have already gone up from week 6 because we're a little bit later than we'd want to be. But stay tuned on the channel for more analytical videos coming your way early on next week. But yeah, we're going to get out of here. So our final thanks to you for watching, and we will see you next time. So take care, TBU fans.